You ready for a revolution?
Yeah.
My name is Jim Moss. I'm a native Arizonan, born in the Globe, Miami area. I'm an alumnus at ASU, degrees in political science, elementary, secondary education, and in a Northern Arizona University in leadership. And I'm here today to declare that our campaign's #1 priority is to repeal and replace Mr. Jeff Flake. Our goal, our campaign goal, is to inspire and ignite a peaceful revolution so that we can give voice to the majority of Arizonans that have been shut out of the U.S. Senate for decades. We haven't had a Democrat, I think, since Dennis DeConcini. And for the last 25 years, it's been the same conservative philosophy representing all of Arizona. As has been stated, we're a purple state. We're even very closely divided, but I think the majority of Arizonans are with us on the issues. And we've just got to inspire and ignite Arizonans to come out 2018 and change the face of Congress. Because that's what it's going to take. If we really want change and sustain change, we have got to change the face of Congress. My bio, in 60 seconds: educator, entrepreneur, and community activist. I spent 15 years in public education, teaching 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, and then as an administrator on the Hopi Reservation my last year. And so I've got quite a bit of experience and background, and I really appreciate the remarks about education today. I agree wholeheartedly. Something a little different about my education experience was my last year in an East Valley district. I like to say I'm maybe the original founder of the Tea Party in Arizona. TEA, Teacher Empowerment Association. I got that going the last year before I left the district and went on to another opportunity. But that gives you a little sense of my philosophy and actions even when I was an educator. As an entrepreneur, now 15 years, my wife and I moved back to my hometown of Globe, started a small business. We built a specialty retail shop, quite a large one, which has become the destination in our town. And to show you that we don't hide our activism from anybody, during the 2008 campaign, here we are, a small business in a small town, and I think it's safe to say in that small town, it's these days pretty red. We were the Obama headquarters. We brought in the t-shirts. T-shirts and the buttons and all the good gear from the Obama website. Had them right at our entrance, and sold a few and gave a lot away. And some people would say, boy, is that going to hurt your business? Well, I don't know. We continue to grow every year for the last 12 years. So I'm sure it maybe hurt with a few people, but I think people, even that don't agree with you, respect you when you stand up for what you believe. And as an activist, on my resume, about 5 years ago, the local leaders in our town, in our community, just about all of them, city, county, economic development, chamber, they had an idea to bring in a large private prison to Globe, Miami. Now, we already have a state prison there, and their idea was to bring in this big private prison because it was going to bring a huge stream of revenue to the city. Well, as soon as I heard about that and our friends, we began talking. We said, this is not a good thing for our community nor for our state. So my wife and I led the charge. We fought that for a year and a half. We rallied the citizens of our community. We did a postcard campaign. Hundreds came flooding in with comments. I mean, it was 9-1. I don't even know if it was that big. I don't know if there was 10% supporting that project except for the leaders. They would not listen. We ended up taking it all the way to the ballot box. Those folks in the city council anyway that did not listen were defeated by a 70% margin. And there's no private prison in Globe, and there's not one coming. Whenever you take on an issue like this, you ask yourself, why run and why me? A few weeks ago, I asked my wife that question. I said, Kelly, why do you think I should take this on and run for this office? And her response to me was, because you're not afraid to tell it like it is, and you'll fight for truth and justice. So, she knows me pretty well, and I think Kelly summed it up quite well. Now let me talk a few minutes about a topic that maybe will help you understand me a little bit better and what I believe. And the topic I've chosen is bipartisanship. I've heard a little bit about that today. In fact, when I came in, I saw a friend of mine who's from Globe, Miami, a county supervisor, a Republican. And I thought, I wonder why he's here. So I gave him a little foreshadowing. I said, my talk on bipartisanship, don't take it wrong today. We'll still remain friends. But here's what I say about bipartisanship. In every election cycle, candidates go out and say and try to convince voters that they are going to reach across the aisle and become bipartisan. They're going to end the gridlock, whether it's at the state legislature, in Washington D.C., and improve this dysfunction that so many of us are concerned about. And I understand that sentiment, and I'm sure that sounds familiar to you. You hear it from candidates in every election cycle. But here's what I have to say about that. Partisanship really is not the problem. And bipartisanship really is not the solution. The dysfunction at the state legislature in D.C., the real problem is the corrupting influence of corporate money in our political process. That's the number one problem. And until we take care of that, it is going to be very difficult to solve all the other big problems. And one reason the partisanship is so extreme these days is because the money flowing into politics is so extreme these days. And so it's difficult to reach across the aisle in this kind of situation because big money comes in and influences people's decisions, and the lines are drawn so clearly it is much tougher to reach across and reach across reasonable compromise. So I say, no, not bipartisanship, it's the big money in politics that we have to fix first. So I'm not hung up on bipartisanship. I mean, it's good to get along, just like with my friend Tim. But bipartisanship is only positive if the public policy that is implemented is good for the people and for planet Earth. If it's not, then what's the point of just reaching across the aisle for the sake of saying, I'm bipartisan? No, there are some big, big challenging issues that I believe we are right on. And compromise on some things is just not on the table as far as I'm concerned. For example, think about this question. Does bipartisanship offer meaningful and necessary solutions to the really big issues like universal health care? In the current climate, are we going to reach in Washington across the aisle to Mitch McConnell and solve the health care problem with a universal health care plan? No. The solution is take back Congress and build a progressive majority. And implement the health care plan that we know United States of America deserves and needs. That's the solution. Not to tinker around the edges and try to come up with a health care plan that was a compromise that didn't solve that issue. And guaranteed, with the current makeup of Washington, it wouldn't. What about climate change policy? Is that something that today we're going to reach across the aisle in D.C. and solve? No. We need to take back power in Congress and enact the legislation that protects planet Earth. That's right. That's right. And of course, like I said, the number one issue, the big corporate money influence in Congress. Is that going to change with a bipartisan approach reaching across to Mitch McConnell? I don't think so. And what about a progressive tax policy so that the wealthy and the big corporations pay their fair share? Is that going to happen with bipartisanship? No.
Absolutely not.
What about Wall Street reform?
Nope.
Ain't gonna happen. So, compromising our principles will not solve the big problems that we just listed and faced. It will not. The solution is to get out there and fight and elect people, progressives, bold progressive ideas at the state legislature and in the Congress, and build those majorities until we can enact solutions, real solutions to these problems. So, a couple more words here. I claim to be Teddy Roosevelt or give him hell Harry Truman, but I am confident that I'm the best antidote to Jeff Flake. I have confidence that we can compete hard and fair, and that with Arizona people power, we can start a peaceful revolution and take back Congress in 2018. Thank you.
Yeah.